Well, thanks very much. This will be a short press conference for reasons that are obvious for those of you who are travelling with us to Tokyo. I am incredibly honoured and humbled to have been sworn in as Australia's 31st Prime Minister. Australians have voted for change, and my government intends to implement that change in an orderly way. This morning, we had sworn in the interim ministry that you see before you here in order to enable myself and Senator Wong to visit Tokyo for the Quad Leaders meeting. In Tokyo, we'll also have important bilateral meetings with President Biden, Prime Minister Kishida and Prime Minister Modi. I received a phone call last night and had a very fruitful and positive conversation renewing my acquaintance with President Biden. The relationship with the United States is our most important, along with our relationships in the region and our multilateral commitments as well. So the meetings that we will have, not just with the United States, but importantly with our hosts in Japan and India, are going to be very important in a good way to send a message to the world that there's a new government in Australia, and it's a government that represents a change in terms of the way that we deal with the world on issues like climate change, but also a continuity in the way that we have respect for democracy and the way that we value our friendships and long-term alliances. The caucus will then meet next Tuesday. We will then have a swearing in of the full ministry next Wednesday morning, and then I'll convene the first meeting of the new ministry. We just had an informal meeting of this group. We will have a meeting of the ministry next Wednesday, along with meetings of the appropriate cabinet committees, including the NSC and the ERC. Those arrangements, I met with the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet yesterday, and I thank them for their professionalism. It was a reminder, as a former Deputy Prime Minister and Minister, of how valued our public servants are. We won't be sacking public servants either. We'll be valuing public servants and respecting them. And the fact that we're able to have discussions and put measures in place to allow whatever the outcome of the result on Saturday for those arrangements to be put in place says a lot about how professional our public service are. We should not take it for granted. We will return on Wednesday and set about implementing our agenda that's received the endorsement of the Australian people, our National Reconstruction Fund, our Powering Australia plan to deal with the opportunities that come with acting on climate change, our full implementation of the Respect at Work report recommendations, affordable childcare, fixing the aged care crisis, strengthening Medicare. I said on Saturday that the how was just as important as the what, and indeed it is. I want to bring people together, and I want to change the way that politics is conducted in this country. We will establish a National Anti-Corruption Commission. I've asked for that work to begin already. I'll bring together an employment summit, and I thank those people in the business community and in the trade union movement for the discussions that we've had already about the way that that can be progressed. And we will, of course, be advancing the need to have constitutional recognition of First Nations people, including a voice to Parliament that is enshrined in that Constitution. I look forward to leading a government that makes Australians proud, a government that doesn't seek to divide, that doesn't seek to have wedges, but seeks to bring people together for our common interest and our common purpose. I think that's one of the messages that came through on Saturday. People do have conflict fatigue. They want to work with people, and I'll work with people, whether it's the crossbenchers or the opposition, to try to, wherever possible, get agreement. It's the way that I ran the Labor Party from the day that I became Labor leader, not opposition leader. And I do believe that we can do politics better, and I hope to do so. Happy to take just a few. We'll take just a few. James.
Congratulations, first of all, on your win. What will you do, Prime Minister? Have you had discussions already about, if you don't have a majority, have you had discussions with the crossbench and minor parties about confidence in supply?
Thanks for that question. I'm hopeful that we will receive a majority of members of the House of Representatives. At this stage, that looks most likely, but of course counting continues. But my expectation is that we have a majority in the Labor caucus. But I have received and had discussions with the existing members of the crossbench and received confirmation from Rebecca Sharkey, Bob Catter, Andrew Wilkie, Helen Haynes and Zali Steggall that they would not support any no confidence motions against the government, and that they would also, of course, secure supply. It is important that we respect the outcome of the election on Saturday, and there aren't any. I've stuck to what I said before the election, as have they. They will consider legislation on its merits. I expect that to be the case. I will treat them with respect.
Prime Minister, when do you want Parliament to resume, and how are you feeling? Are you ready?
I'm ready. I've been getting ready for some time. And Parliament, I've had discussions with the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet about a timetable. We, of course, I read in one paper this morning that the Liberal Party might have its caucus meeting if Parliament sits next week. I can confirm that Parliament won't be sitting until the writs are returned, which won't be certainly next week. Look, we will sit at some stage before the end of July. We will wait. It may well be much earlier than that. We'll await the advice of Prime Minister and Cabinet. There are a range of issues. One, there is a number of international events, some of which are public, some of which are not, which need to be accommodated. The other issue, of course, is I will try to run a family-friendly Parliament. There is school holidays in July that have been pointed out as well. But we will resume Parliament in a very orderly way. Catherine.
You said a minute ago.
And then Kieran, I'll go to the case.
You said a minute ago that the incoming Labor government isn't going to sack public servants, but you have indicated that you want new leadership at the head of PMNC, and I'm interested whether you've got a candidate in mind. Also, the Labor will of course have done a transition to government plan. I'm quite interested in what you're able to tell us about machinery of government changes or reallocation of portfolios. What's your thinking on both of those points?
Thanks. Stephanie Foster is the acting head of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet as of yesterday. I will be making an announcement at an appropriate time after we go through the formal procedures which are in place for the appointment of a Secretary of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet.
Prime Minister, one of the big issues for you in this term is of course China. My question is to you or the Foreign Minister, or both if you would like. Now you're in office, do you see an opportunity to maybe cool things down? You've said they're more aggressive. Everyone agrees that obviously they've been more aggressive and so on. But on this crucial issue for our nation, do you see a chance to try and take a bit of the heat out of it?
Well, what I have said and we maintain is that the relationship with China will remain a difficult one. I said that before the election. That has not changed. It is China that has changed, not Australia, and Australia should always stand up for our values, and we will in a government that I lead. That having been said, you will not get the call earlier because you yell, okay? Like, can we just, on day one, get that clear? Can I make the point, though, that what we should do is put Australia's national interest first and not attempt to play politics with national security issues. I think we saw some politics played with national security issues on Saturday afternoon, and there are millions of Australians who received text messages on Saturday afternoon that demonstrate that that is the case. What I will do as the Prime Minister and my Foreign Minister, Senator Wong, will do is put Australia's national interests first, put Australia's values first, and now, on that note, speaking of overseas, we have a plane to catch. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. See you there.